Hello, everyone. Father Norm here. I'm sure as I begin this conversation in a way, I know you're listening mainly, that when I mention the name Tyree Nichols, what emerges for you? What feelings? What thoughts? Obviously, so many of us saw the video. Some chose not to and can understand why. But the impact, I've talked to a lot of people this week, white and black, about that reality. And many of my white friends obviously were horrified, were sickened, just the very fact that this would happen, and still keep happening. My black friends, the few that I talked to, used a word that they've used with me before. It's just so exhausting because what they were saying is, we just know not long after this one, something else is going to happen in terms of racial hatred, if you will. Or then another time, something else. So many of my black friends, they'll say that. They'll say, well, when you're white, as I am obviously, they'll say it bothers you and you get emotionally torn up by it and appreciate that because it's so inhumane. But they mention a point that's often been the case. As a white person, within the next week or two, you can forget about it or get caught up in something else. And this one woman that I talked to, black woman, she said she has two sons in their 20s that are black. She said, no, she can't forget that. I think we've mentioned before, or you've had black friends that have said they have to have the talk. That when something happens in their automobile, they have to make sure that they roll down the window, bring out their wallets so that they don't reach in the pocket to get it, put their hands on the wheel, and so many families say that they feel awful that they have to have the talk, but they have to have the talk. And the point being, for so many of my black friends, they said it's constantly there. It's not like, oh, this is awful. We feel sickened and sad, and how could it be such a brutal thing? And then we get on with our life, which on one level we need to, but on another level, does it ever move us into greater conversation? Or maybe some people coming together and saying, can there be action steps in my own sphere of influence? One way each of us, those of us who are white, can be an influence, as my black friends say, is to talk to one another, to help each other better understand where any of us may be dealing with some racial bigotry or simply indifference. One quick example, I may have shared this before, that I shared because there was a fellow who came to me this last week saying, well, hey, it's black cops, killing a black man, and so there's no prejudice or race in that. And yet, on the other hand, even though they were cops, the point being made that this was a black young person, didn't matter the color of the person that was actually stopping them, but what they did from their own position of power and police work. Again, knowing all police are not like that. Most are not. But saying that, one quick example that I shared with this person who still saw it just in a racial thing and didn't understand why blacks were so upset. I mentioned that one of my friends, a black guy, big black guy, he was out driving in his car, and he had his niece next to him, and she's biracial from her own relationships, and he's dark or black, and that a cop stopped him. He rolled down the window and did what he was supposed to do, but then the cop looked beyond him and just said to his niece, who was biracial but definitely related, what's wrong with you, honey? Is there anything happened to you? Are you safe? And my buddy was saying it made him very angry. They didn't talk to him. They just talked to her. And I'm sure felt they were doing a good thing as a cop, as a police officer. And again, the vast majority are good in trying to do the right thing. But he talked about how that angered him and hurt him, and he had to swallow it. But he was saying, just, Norm, when you talk to people, whether it's police or others, help them see that kind of prejudice or that discrimination, that bigotry that maybe they don't even see, but it's there. So all of us, whatever we do, we need to speak out. We need to help one another, black, white, all of us, be more loving about all people and seeking to better understand and care for one another and regard one another, because there's one race, the human race. God bless.